Okay, we're live. Good morning. This is the New York City Board of Standards and Appeals Public Review Session for April 26th, 10 a.m. No public testimony is allowed during this review session. The first items we'll be discussing are adjournments. Item number 1, 853-53BZ, 2402-16 Knapp Street, Brooklyn. Item number 2, 16949BZ, 5270 Amboy Road, Staten Island. Item number 3, 6-09BZ, 24 Nelson Avenue, Staten Island, and 2019-278BZ, 9201 Fifth Avenue. The following case is postponed. Item number 5, 23807BZ, 5-1740 7th Avenue, Queens.
I just want to make a comment about that. I'm not sure if the applicant is actually listening to this, but so the reason for the postponement is they're saying that the building may be sold, in which case it's and this was a variance for a not-for-profit institution, so it has a programmatic needs requirement, right? So if the site on which the building is to be located and that building in question is not constructed, they would have to come in for an amendment for which was a dormitory building, because the waivers are based on programmatic needs. But the project was a multi-unit development and the for-profit building is completed. So you know, in terms of the for-profit building is no longer an issue here, but if the not-for-profit site is sold, they're going to have to come back either for an amendment or even potentially a new variance, depending on the extent of the differences. So a postponement, yeah, we're going to be postponing this for many, many months, but at the same time, not sure that it shouldn't be a new application. This is just sort of a heads up to the applicant. They should probably be speaking to Carlo and to Kurt. So, okay, go ahead.
The following items have requested withdrawals. Item number 6, 2019-203BZ, 14443 Farmers Boulevard, Queens.
Okay, so for a motion to withdraw.
Chair Perlmutter.
Aye.
Vice Chair Chanda.
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown.
Aye.
Commissioner Sheffer.
Aye.
Commissioner Shabeta.
Aye.
Item number 7, 2019-98, 2432 Joralemon Street and 10-2030 Columbia Place, Brooklyn.
So this isn't actually a request to withdraw. It's more that the owner of the building, who's essentially the developer of the proposed underground parking garage, has decided not to pursue that project and has withdrawn their application to the Department of Buildings, and we received confirmation from the Department of Buildings that the application was withdrawn. The appellant in this case is the tenant association, and they have not filed for withdrawal as far as I know, unless something new happened. But the fact is, unless we have some kind of denial from the buildings department or some kind of challenge of an actual project, we don't have anything to discuss, and we don't have jurisdiction. So this is actually us making a motion to dismiss for lack of jurisdiction. Okay, anybody have any questions about that?
You saw the applicant's email. Mr. Dobkin's email?
Maybe not. Is it anything different?
Well, he just thought he understands that it's moot kind of, but didn't want it dismissed for lack of jurisdiction.
Right. Well, that's the point is and he had submitted that before. I mean, we'd had this discussion actually in March. But in March, we didn't have any kind of confirmation from DOB that the application had been withdrawn. There's nothing for us to consider. You can't leave an application open until someday, if maybe there's something to contest. So the subject at hand that particular project and the potential dangers to fire egress that would be caused by that particular project are no longer at issue. So I'd like to make that motion to dismiss.
Okay. Chair Promoter,
Aye.
Vice Chair Chanda,
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Shepherd,
Aye.
Commissioner Shabeta.
Aye.
Item number 8, 2019-207A, 3235 Queens Boulevard, Queens.
Okay, so with this one, there was a point at which, because this hearing never actually occurred, right? There was a point at which we thought perhaps the owner didn't understand the ramifications of a withdrawal. But what I suspect is because this was a, oh wait, sorry.
No, this is the SOE permit thing. The next one is the vesting.
Yeah, right. This is the SOE. Okay, so it's not really the same thing. Okay, so with this one and then I'll talk about the next one separately, I guess. Okay, so with this one, a motion to withdraw.
Chair Perlmutter,
Aye.
Vice Chair Chanda,
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Shepherd,
Aye.
Commissioner Shabeta.
Aye.
Okay, item number 9, 2020-16A, 3235 Queens Boulevard, Queens.
Okay, so this was for the same project, the application to establish a common law vested right. And when the owner kept asking to postpone the hearing, and then eventually the applicant's counsel sent in a letter requesting withdrawal, I was concerned that perhaps the owner wasn't fully apprised of the reality of what would happen if they withdrew this vested rights application and tried to come in at another time, because this is an application to vest a hotel, and shortly you're not going to be able to build hotels as of right, probably anywhere in the city. So anyway, we reached out to applicant's counsel and asked for them to confirm that the owner was aware of the risks, and they did that. And I suspect also that it's very likely, based on a little bit of my research online, that they probably couldn't have vested, that they didn't actually have enough work in place to vest. So, or maybe not even permits in place to vest. So, probably that's initially why they kept postponing. They were trying to put together the materials. Anybody else? Any comments, questions? Okay.
I want to say it's a smart move from the applicant side
Okay.
to not to waste his time and our time. But I did read this case entirely, and that's why I'm saying that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I didn't realize. Okay. Thank you. All right then. So a motion to withdraw on this as well.
Chair Perlmutter,
Aye.
Vice Chair Chanda,
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Shepherd,
Aye.
Commissioner Shabeta.
Aye.
The next items are decisions. Item number 10, 2308BZ, 80-14 Chevy Chase Street, Queens.
Second. Okay. Sorry, I'm still scrolling past my notes. Okay, so just as a reminder of what we did here, we had been very frustrated with this case and the lack of progress and lack of responsiveness by the applicant. And so out of frustration, because we really didn't know what else to do, we closed the case and with the sort of threat that we would be voting to deny. So and hoping that the applicant would then jump to and respond, as sometimes other applicants have done in the same situation. So in response, the applicant states that the gas lines have been removed and provided an April 1st, 21 request for a plumbing inspection. That's part of the DOB sign-off process. There was an updated submission but I actually didn't see sign off or inspection result on that, but there was a request for an inspection. With respect to the refrigerator, the applicant has responded that they refuse to take out the walk-in refrigerator for financial reasons. And just a few minutes ago, we received, I don't know if it went to submit, we received a copy of a written quote for something like $25,000 to remove it, which seems extreme if you ask me, but and you know, I have to say I researched a little bit online too. I don't know who the source of this quote is. I mean, if it's a credible HVAC company or why you're using an HVAC company to make this removal. I didn't really understand, but nonetheless, that's what their claim is. They've also responded that they have paid down ECB violations to a certain point and provided proof of payment for violations paid in January of 2020. We've actually seen that before. Biz shows an open balance of over $96,000, which continues to mount as they do work without permits and so on. The applicant claims that they are asking to schedule rehearings on at oath, although they have had well over 2 years to do that. That's how old those violations are and how long we've been at this. But they don't want to pay what is not subject to challenge without our approval. So there are some that they admit they can't challenge and they don't want to pay it unless we approve the application, which actually is not how this works. With all of our applications, we require either payment of these open violations or proof that a settlement has been established, like a payment plan or something with ECB, which they have not entered into. They also responded that when we asked about whether the cellar extends onto city property, they said that the surveyor will not verify that. I find that very odd because that's what surveyors do. Maybe not this surveyor, but that's what surveyors are supposed to do. They're supposed to see whether you're built over the property line, even in the cellar. They don't have to do it just by visuals, right? It's like, what? They also responded that they are applying for revocable consents for incursions on city property, the most visible versions of which are those walls and fences that extend far over the property line. And they provided a copy of their application dated April 12th that they submitted to DOT. So they just submitted an application for a revocable consent, and I don't know how long that process is. They did, let's see, there were also issues about the drawings, which have since been coordinated, I believe. The landscaping plan also has now shown above ground planting beds and some in-ground planting beds, and the drawings were modified and recently resubmitted, I think maybe on Friday night. That shows better the landscaping details where the in-ground beds are and where the above ground beds are. And at our direction, they removed everything from the drawings that is sitting on city property. So that if we were to allow this application to go forward, we're not by any kind of implication to DOB allowing for an incursion on city property. That's strictly to be done by a revocable consent. Also, the parapet wall, as we observed many moons ago, is 10 inches higher than permitted as a permitted obstruction. And we had them clarify that that will be removed. Before it was just dash lines, and we clarified that's to be removed. The board is not waiving height. So, and then there's a stop work order and a new violation that was added. So I'm not sort of coming to a conclusion here. I actually want to hear from the board how they feel about this. You know, my initial reaction was they refused to do anything we said. And which is what we directed them to do. And oftentimes when we get to this point, we vote. I want to know whether there's sympathy in some way for this application and to reopen it or vote on it or vote it right. I just don't know how people are feeling, and I'd rather kind of go around the room like that. So Vice Chair Shamba.
Okay, I'll start with the easy one. I think the landscaping plan, if done correctly, the above ground can work. We have seen a good example of it. And I think should we consider it, we should have very clear outline of operational plan and maintenance from the applicant, and make them very aware, make them clearly aware of their obligation of how to maintain it. And the construction of it should be per some standard that has been laid out by a landscape architect who knows how an above ground planting condition would work, what kind of planting would work in those conditions and all that. So with that caveat, I would be okay with the planting. And I agree with you, the notes, adding notes to the plan that clears the BSA of the fact of the notion that we are not granting any development above the parapet height, any development on city side street. Should they get the revocable consent, that's between DOB, DOT, and the applicant. We are not party to it. I think a similar note should be added just to be on the safe side, since we do not know I also question the way the survey was done. Put a note in the seller plan saying that any development beyond the property line be developed should be done with the consent or be approved with the consent of city. Some note to that effect.
So here's the thing. We keep the dash lines for the parapets because those exist and we want them taken off. So it's dashed in as a demolition indicator.
Right.
We
Right.
have them remove all indications of any work off the property line.
Right.
So if they,
No.
so adding a note that says we're not approving anything off the property line, I'm not sure if that's confusing because there isn't anything in the drawings that's off the property line.
True. That is true. It's just that we don't have the adequate and full information, complete information on the seller.
So the drawing shows the seller within the property lines, right? But I
Okay.
agree, I understand what you're saying. Like, that's why we asked for a survey, and then so ridiculous, the surveyor says, sorry, I don't do sellers. What?
Right. Well, there's a simple way to do it. You just take a measuring tape and measure from end to end, and then say, this is what we measured and this is what we came up with. And oops, oh, it's 65 foot. That's the property width, and it is 65.
So I take it to another, there are buildings in New York City and everywhere on the planet with 10 subsellers. The surveyor needs to know, did they go down on the property line or didn't they, right?
Yeah. So I hear you. Okay. So I think in that whatever we have in the plan is what we would be approving. So that's fine. With regards to the refrigerator, as I was reading that, I've never dealt with commercial refrigerator. I was thinking, how do I use my refrigerator? I plug it in. If I plug it up, if I unplug it, it won't work as a refrigerator. Can that be done? And then we are done. Let the structure stay, but it doesn't operate as a frozen refrigerator. I don't know.
You just plug it back in, I'm guessing. It's probably hardwired, so you.
Okay.
All
right, well-
bring an electrician to de-hardwire it, and then you bring another one back to hardwire it again.
I think at this point, I do understand the hardship they're going through, and we just have to watch, the board has to watch this facility closely, monitor it closely, and a lot of conditions and caveats have to be put in, and maybe we give it a short leash.
Okay. All right, thank you. Commissioner Otley Brown.
To be honest with you, I'm on the fence with this case because I feel like they have a track record of being non-compliant with the conditions of the board. And so therefore, what will more conditions do? Are they necessarily going to bring them around so they now operate within the confines of their variance grant? I'm not confident that it will. However, I know that revoking the grant isn't likely to do anything either. They'll just operate illegally without a grant. So that's why I'm on the fence about this. I feel like they are spending more time telling us what they can't do rather than doing. And that's problematic for me. I feel like if you are doing something you shouldn't be doing and you are caught doing it, you should be trying to make amends. And I don't see that. And I don't understand why they can't just take a sledgehammer to the inside walk-in refrigerator and remove it piece by piece. I think you can get one of those man with a van people who would happily take a sledgehammer to that thing and knock it to pieces. So I don't really understand where their resistance is, but if the board were willing to grant this, I don't think it should be done today because I don't think that they're doing anything to prove to us that they want to go ahead and be constructive neighbors that operate within the confines of their grant.
Mhm. So then if we weren't granting today, then effectively either we're deferring to see some progress, like paying down the ECB violations. Don't understand this thing. I agree with you. We were just joking about getting a few big friends in with sledgehammers, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, so I would be willing to defer this to see whether or not they're actually going to do one of those things, pay down your violations or remove that refrigerator. I have no doubt in my mind that if that refrigerator remains, it's going to find its way back into use as a refrigerator storing lots of food for very large events.
Mhm. Right. And if you look at, I have to say, if I look at the layout of the cellar, it continues to be the layout of a commercial kitchen. There's even shelves shown in the new location,
Mhm.
you know, and gas is on the way out in New York. So a lot of this can be done with convection cooking and all of that sort of stuff. You see that more and more, like in Italy, all the cooking's done on convection cooktop.
Mhm. Right.
So, yeah. Right. Thank you. Okay. Commissioner Shetto.
Thank you, Chair. I don't want to be repetitive. I don't want to repeat what is said, but I agree with Vice Chair and Commissioner Brown regarding the planting, the landscaping, and the refrigerator. And on the refrigerator side, I was actually thinking about something that's more hectic to the board / the city, which is limit the storage in the refrigerator to a certain percentage, like 20% or so. But this, I believe this is not practical to do, and it's not easy to like achieve the monitoring for that. It needs somebody who's like insider, sitting there 24/7, like opening the door and checking it. So I don't think, I was sympathetic actually until we got the code for the 25 grand for removal. I believe I could be installing a similar refrigerator, not just removing it, for 25 grand.
Yes.
So it sounds like they got to a dead end with removing this refrigerator. I would give them some more time to think about it, but I don't want to be like showing patience forever. So they have to do something about the refrigerator thing. They are not going to get everything they want, and I believe that we, the board, are not going to push them to the extreme like we want. It should be some like compromise from their side. They have to understand that. I do understand, I don't want to say we here, but I do understand that this is a house of work. But to those who's like in charge of managing this house of worship, enough is enough. You're gonna look bad in front of your congregants if this application got denied. Seriously. So please show some cooperation here. For the refrigerator, I would give him some more time. Think about it. Take this thing down. It's doable. For the survey and the encroachment into city property, I'm not sure when was the last time I heard from a surveyor that he doesn't do sellouts. It's done like around the clock, day and night. And it's easy to do during the construction. I understand that maybe they haven't done it during the construction and now it's tough. But this is not 10 cellars below grade, it's just one. And if you want to make sure that the cellar is not encroaching, dig 2 feet. You know what? They got 4 spots at the corners, not actually 4, 2, just 2 spots on the corners, 2 feet down. This is not going to cost you much. It's going to cost you probably like a payday for 2 labor, probably $500 at most. And then it's a piece of cake for the surveyor to come and look at it and survey it. I don't see like anything behind this complete denial to do something, but to push the city and the board to the corner, and we're not gonna be in that spot. Act, or soon you will get denied. I was actually sympathetic until like early last week, but when this like feedback came about the surveyor, and he said, oh, it can be done. And then like later on, they said it requires excavation. Yes, it does. There is no GPR, ground penetration radar, that can go and sense where the cellar is. You need to dig. You need to get the guy to look at it physically and survey it and take it from there. And it's not much money like you claimed about that refrigerator, probably like I said, $500 and you're done. So please take an action before it's late to do. Thank you.
Thank you. And Commissioner Shabeta.
Thank you, Chair. This is, I feel the board's frustration as well. I think that if this goes on much longer, I think the members of the board would be happy to bring a sledgehammer to that refrigerator. That being said, there are other ways to handle this. You can concrete slab that refrigerator and the walls and show, because that's not something that's going to be easy to take off a refrigerator. It's not like putting up plywood and then the next day taking it down. I think that might be, they need to come up with a creative solution. If it's truly $25,000, which I too share the skepticism of many of my colleagues, there are other ways to repurpose that room in a way that is not something that can be reversed without great cost. With regard to the survey, just do it. I don't think, if this particular surveyor does not have the expertise to do it, there are others that will. This case has been going on for some time. The request for a survey is not new either. You have some ample time to find it. I took exception to the position on the ECB violations because they are violations that need to be paid. This isn't a, well, I'll only pay it if this works out. No, you violated. It's not a maybe thing. That needs to be addressed immediately. Because this is a religious institution, I certainly want to give them leverage to have another opportunity to do this. But again, we've had a lot of pushback from this applicant. They have a history of that isn't exactly exemplary. I do want to defer this case. I don't think there's much more to talk about. And if they can't come up with these very simple solutions. Granted, they do have a cost with them, but it's certainly in a cost-benefit analysis, it makes sense for them to follow our instruction. Otherwise, I don't think we have a choice. We can't be the agency that you can say no to enough that they then approve. And those are my comments on this.
Okay, thank you. All right, so then that's what we're doing. We're deferring. Okay, so no vote. All right.
Okay. Item number 11, I'm sorry.
Just
Go
give
on.
me a second. All right, so defer.
Can I,
Yeah,
Hello?
sure. Yeah, go ahead.
I just did a quick Google search as to how to unplug a refrigerator. I mean, yes, it's hardwired, but we were able to have them remove the gas line. So how difficult is it to remove the
No,
electric?
it's not difficult. You turn off the circuit breaker and you cut the wire, and the cables are like this fat, right? You can do it, but you can also hire an electrician to put it back. Like, it costs about a couple $100 and they'll do it again, right? So that's the problem. I think Commissioner Shibetta's idea was, and when he was saying that,
I like Commissioner Shibetta's idea of put a concrete wall and just close it off.
Right, so that's one way, and to repurposing it is another way, where you say, I'm not sure exactly, but let's say you take one of the walls down. So if it's $25,000 to disassemble the whole thing, what about taking one of the walls down? It's no longer able to function as a refrigerator. You see this with bank vaults. When banks are converted into into a store, they turn the bank vault into a cafe. Like, there was a really nice article in DZine about this recently. And it's just missing one of the walls of the vault. So maybe they could do something like that. Take off the big doors and chuck them, or more than the doors, because you can put those back. So you take off the wall that holds the doors.
Right. We'd also have to sell the engine rather than just unplugging it. The engine itself that powers it.
That's a good point. I forgot about that.
But none of those ideas cost $25,000. Let's say they cost $5,000.
You could probably, if you sell the engine, you'll probably make some of that back.
That's the thing. I would think somebody would want to just buy this thing, and you would pay for the purchaser would pay for the disassembly and relocation. But they're obviously not willing to try anything creative, because they keep thinking that by steadfastly working on no, they'll get their way. And obviously the board isn't up to that, or isn't on for that. So, yeah. Right. And who knows how much they've been spending in legal fees, unless they've been getting a break somehow from this council, but it's wasteful. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. Let's move on to the next.
Item number, am I not muted, right? Okay. Item number 11, 64888 BZ, 2107 Richmond Road, Staten Island.
Okay. Sorry. The submission appears to, oops, that's 412. Sorry, read the wrong one. Oh, so all we were waiting for was a non-seeker DOT sign off. Tracy or Jella, go ahead.
Yeah, we still haven't received it. They said they were reviewing it on Friday evening and they were going to get back to us.
Okay, and Jella, did you want to say something else?
Basically the same thing.
Okay, so why don't we just like either second call this for later in the day or even tomorrow afternoon? Let's just see what happens. Let's second call it, okay? Because I know how desperate the owner is for this. So,
Okay.
Item number 12, 2019-25 BZ, 40-48 Commercial Street, Brooklyn.
okay. Scrolling, getting there. I haven't forgotten you. There we go. Okay. Where are my notes? Okay. Actually, you know what? Since I don't want to steal the let's say the thunder of Commissioners Otley Brown and Cheta on this one, I would like them actually to start. So start with Commissioner Cheta, because that goes to the essentially the hardship, and Commissioner Otley Brown, that goes to the B finding. Okay, go ahead, Commissioner Cheta.
Thank you, Chair. We got something new this submission. We got 10% discount on the remedial cost. So it's now down to slightly below 1 million. Remember, we started with 3, so negotiation continues. But we want to stop negotiating. I got to a conclusion that the as of right scenario that's being described in the submission before the last one is feasible. I'm going to show you how we got to this. First of all, I just want to remind the board that one of the things that I repeatedly mentioned about the remediation was the following. Number one, it shouldn't include the cost for the basic dewatering system / dewatering efforts. Reason why? This is a waterfront. This is very close to the river. And no matter what, this site is contaminated or clean. If you wanna put a cellar that deep, if you wanna dig down to the depth that you wanna dig down to, you're gonna need dewatering. If you look at the construction cost, you're gonna see the dewatering item is totally on the remediation side. I mentioned this like 5 times before. When back in the day, when we started with a month of dewatering, and then when we ended up with 3 days of dewatering after how many hearings, I'm not sure, I was begging them to please do sheeting, seed it into the deep clay layer, and then put some pumps. And they started with big no, and now we ended up with the same exact design that the board suggested day one. And when they did that, I took the remediation cost, which is about 1 million, I would say. And what I did is I just eliminated the dewatering, their own numbers that they submitted for the dewatering cost. Not all of them, except for the treatment, because the treatment is needed because of that contamination. So it should be part of the remediation. I took out the cost for the shearing, because the shearing is going to be needed no matter what. You're going to, if this site is clean, that doesn't mean that you don't need shearing to minimize the groundwater seepage into your excavation and to support your excavation sites. You're going to need this shearing no matter what. And again, we mentioned this day one on this hearing, but still on this submission, shearing is totally included in the remediation cost. So if you take these items out of disposing the excavation, the entire excavation is claimed to be part of the remediation cost. Why? If this site is clean and you're digging this site, you're not going to need to dispose your excavation. Of course, you're going to need to. And what I mentioned probably 4 hearings ago is what should be done is this. Classify your site. Look at it. See how extensive is that contamination. Tell me how much percentage of the excavation would be contaminated. And then calculate the entire excavation and take that percentage out. So this should be disposing this part of excavation should be part of the remediation cost. But the rest is not. The rest is part of the base construction cost. Again, this is not being done today, and I have to do it myself. So if you take down these items out of the almost 1 million, you can cut the cost for the remediation probably by more than 600 grand. So the cost of the remediation comes down to almost less than $400,000, which is very typical to a site in New York City. But I even went like beyond that. I said, let me like take $500,000, 500,000, just to be like fair with them. And what the exercise I did, and I'm gonna be sharing my screen in a moment, is I did look at the, give me 1 second. I did look at the construction cost in case you buy their numbers. And I got the gross floor area here, which is 20,000. I'm talking about the as of right now. The first as of right, the residential use, the 4-story one. We're talking about 25,000 and change square feet. And their base construction cost, excluding remediation and excluding soft cost, I took that number, the 6.5 million almost, divided it by this number, 21,256 square feet. And I calculated the construction cost per square foot. And for this as of right, it's almost $380, which is excessive. And again, I did the same thing for the proposed. And for the proposed, it's even beyond $400. So I got the catch now. I know where is the issue. I knew how this project is not feasible, or why this project is not feasible. If you take, because I tried to fix the remediation cost to $500,000 and plug it in their numbers. And what I got is, oh, the project's still not feasible. And I started to think why. And the only way to judge it is to calculate the construction cost per square foot. And 380 is kind of crazy for me. Above 400, probably the same, probably more craziness here. So what I did is I said, okay, let me now just take a standard construction cost per square foot based on actually my experience and based on the tons of projects that I have done in New York, because I didn't have Marshall and Swift. So I took, for a building like this, you could have like presumed something below $200 per square foot for a building like that, for the as of right, the 4-story building. But I even wanted to be more sympathetic with them and not to like be very tough. So I said, let me live with $250 per square feet. And I plugged in the numbers. And I'm gonna show you the second sheet. Yeah, in here. So this number and this number are gonna be gone now. So I'll take out these two numbers because these numbers result in almost $380 per square foot, and just eliminate these and plug in this guy times 250. And when you do that, you get construction cost, base construction cost of about $2,700,000. If you take that number and add to it the remediation cost, which I took it to up from below like 400,000 to up like 500 grand. This gives you the base construction cost for the entire project. And when you plug in these numbers with their own return figures, that project, the as of right guy, it's not just becoming a feasible project, it's becoming more like than rewarding project. That I did discuss this with Commissioner Ari Brown during the week, and I wanted to, like, I didn't know how to get the cap rate, and she told me that and she's gonna speak after me. She told me that the cap rate based on the numbers I got is even way more than 6%. So I believe on this case, enough is enough. We got enough numbers, we got enough submissions, and honestly, I'm like not really upset. I'm really tired of looking at this case. And I wish, like, every applicant comes to this board, look at the way we look at the cases, and do not do that to us. You wasted our time for more than 6 hearings without outcome. The only outcome we got here is time waste. So I hope to, like, put this case to rest in peace today, because as of right is more than rewarding. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thanks very much. Commissioner Otley Brown.
I don't have anything else to add.
And so your analysis with those construction costs gets you to the same place?
Basically, but I've always said, I don't feel there's a case here. And so it's just reinforced that there is no case here. There may be a uniqueness of shape, but it's not impacting the economics, basically. The construction costs are driving this case. The base construction costs are very high. That's why the as of right is not working. And we're not even considering the subsurface costs. It's still high. So there's no case here.
Okay, I appreciate that. So now I'll go back to this. This was my thinking also, but I wanted everyone to hear the rationale because I also had heard this analysis. And so, you know, we long ago decided that the shape of the site was not posing a hardship, though it may be unique. And a long time ago, Commissioner Shetta had gone out to the site to see a very small area that had been excavated for removal of tanks or remediation or so on. And we discovered that the math on that in one of the estimates was completely wrong. I remember doing it myself and learning the cubic footage was exaggerated, more than exaggerated. It was something like 100 times.
I believe you're mixing, Chair, you're mixing this case with another case. Yeah, I believe you're talking about Flatbush. This is where I got to the site and I looked at the tank removal, but on this specific one, I did visit the site, and I want to say something that Commissioner Brown mentioned it to me during our discussion, that she said she even took the whole remediation cost the way they submitted it, and she plugged it in, was just taking $250 per square foot. And even with doing that, even if you take the remediation cost as is, without even taking the shearing out, without taking the dewatering out, that project, the as of right project, is still feasible, and the cap rate is still more than 6%. So that proves what we said day one, that the fact is, you got experts on this case to claim that with shearing, oh, the dewatering should be this and that. And I have seen one of the experts, and I cannot, like, forget this, because experts like the one who showed up and mentioned this in front of us, before us, should stop. It's much better for them. And I believe this board should start thinking of activating their teeth to bite hard on people like that. He showed up and said with shearing, the seepage rate will be 30% of no shearing. That's just not engineering. If you put shearing, even vinyl shearing, practically, it's not going to be any seepage. On super sensitive projects to seepage, we put stuff between sheets to prevent shearing 100%. But even if you don't put this stuff, it's no more than probably than 1% or probably 0.5%, which is nothing. We dig down into rivers. We put shearing, we construct cover dams into rivers, and we work on dry with just bare shearing. And what I'm getting to is they tried to nail this down for the past, I don't know, 8 hearings, 6 hearings, and it didn't work. And they should get a lesson from that, not just them and every other applicant who shows up before us.
Right, okay. And so, this sort of underscores how we need to change, and we'll do that. Now we have a
Yes.
little bit of time coming up this week. We need to change the administrative notice to say that the detailed cost estimates only apply to the hardship complained of, and the base construction costs have to be done using one of those standards, Marshall and Swift, or means data, something like that source.
I wouldn't call this a change. I would call it enforcement, because if you read the administrative notice carefully, actually we counted on the honesty of every single applicant comes before us, and we gave him the option to save his client money. In the administrative notice, if you read through it, it says that you could get the construction cost based on one of the standard methods or the standards books, like I believe we mentioned RS means in the notice.
Right.
So on a case like this, if you believe that you're like want to do well for the applicant, and instead of spending that much money on that detailed construction cost, just to get somebody who evaluate the remediation like you did, and get the base construction cost based on Marshall and Swift, and just save the money for the guy. But it sounds like it's you know how they use that. But from now and forward, I believe we have to force it. If there is no uniqueness that's relevant to the construction means and methods, the base construction cost should be based on Marshall and Swift. I believe this is going to be a step forward towards getting to a more fair position.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Vice Chair Shanda.
I really have to say the last hearing that we had, where Commissioner Otley Brown's very thorough assessment of the comparison of the as of right and the hypothetical and the proposed situation that she had laid out made it very clear to me how this project does not work. Yes, I appreciate the applicant has tried to shave down a little bit, but I don't think that is still answering the question that Commissioner Otley Brown had raised last time, which is the as of right works. And that hasn't changed. So I'm not therefore convinced. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Shabeta.
Thank you, Chair. This is extremely unfortunate for the applicant. They invested a lot of money to pursue this claim, but unfortunately, I agree with the remainder of the board. I wish there was something we could do, but it just isn't there.
Okay, thank you. All right, and I think also that the initial application and the various versions of whittling it down assumed huge amount of additional floor area. And I think when you come in with such an aggressive case, such an aggressive ask, that you probably know is not substantiated by the equivalent hardship, you're going to end up like this, whittling and whittling and whittling. And instead of coming in with what's a reasonable ask to so that the board isn't sort of put off immediately that you're asking for, I think this might have been 3 times the FAR, some number like that when we started. So anyway, okay, so I would like to bring this to a vote. I'd like to make a motion to to approve then. Okay.
Chair Perlmutter,
No.
Vice Chair Chanda,
No,
Commissioner Otley Brown,
No.
Commissioner Sheta,
No,
Commissioner Shabeta.
No.
This application has been denied.
Thank you.
Decision items, item number 13, 19313 BZ, 4770 White Plains Road, the Bronx.
Um, So they had requested a deferral on this. And we were talking about, I was talking about this with staff, and it's like, why do they keep deferring to get some sort of ZRD1 or something like that from DOB, or having DOB decide something for them? So this is actually just an extension of time to complete construction. And the ZRD1 that they're looking for, it has to do with temporary parking off-site while the project is under construction, because they're not, because they're not providing the parking that's needed for the building while there's construction going on. And so they've asked DOB to allow off-site parking. That has nothing to do with the application at hand. They're just asking us for an extension of time to complete. So we didn't understand why we keep deferring this. So that's why we just said we should just bring this to a vote. So we'll say in our resolution that we're not approving a new set of plans, because we're not approving a new set of plans, and the DOB plans have to be amended to match the BSA plans. That was something that we observed during the hearing process, that the DOB plans weren't matching the approved BSA plans. But other than that, we take no position at all on their use of off-site parking, which is actually not before us. So with that, I'd just like to make a motion to grant the extension of time. And I guess the extension is whatever the usual time period is, 2 years. What is it? 2 years, 4 years, 2 years, right?
It's
Generally 4 unless they request less.
Okay, it's 4. So, all right, so 4 years, because apparently, yeah, I don't see anything in my, yeah, they're requesting 4 years. That's what I see in my notes. Okay, so an extension of time for 4 years commencing the date of the decision. Motion to grant.
Chair Perlmutter,
Aye.
Vice Chair Chanda.
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Sheta.
Aye.
Commissioner Shabeta.
Aye.
This application's been granted. SOC calendar, continued hearing items. Item number 14, 52358 BZ, 11730 Farmers Boulevard, Queens.
Okay, and just for everyone's, just to let everyone know, Vice Chair Shanda did a site visit over the last, I guess, over the weekend, and just submitted last night, I guess, drawings to photographs to submit, which just showed up now in your email of her site visit, so which we'll talk about. Okay, so just a second. So I do have to say that I very much appreciate the applicant's responsiveness to our concerns and directions. And with respect to what we just talked about, this approach to a BSA application speeds up the process immeasurably. When the board gives direction and you respond to the direction, it's kind of fresh air because we can move this along, right? As opposed to constantly pushing back on direction. They did correct the waiver of the rules because they had referred to the wrong rule. Continuous use proof was provided. It must establish use from the 2014 expiration. There's a street view image from 2013, but the next is in 2017. And the gap filler appears to be gas delivery invoices for 2015 and 16. So, and the expiration was in 2014. So what we don't have actually is anything in 2014, but we do have 13 and then 15. So I'm not sure whether that's sufficient. But the gas delivery invoices are pretty clear about it's a lot of gas being delivered. So it doesn't seem like it's being done for show like we've seen on some others, but the board history was corrected as, Commissioner Ali Brown, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, their grant expired in May 2014, and their first gas delivery receipt is February 24th, 2015. So that's really not quite a year. So I think it should be fine.
Okay, good. Yeah, what did you say, February 2015?
February 24th, 2015.
Okay. Okay, great. So, and then also signage calculations were done then, resulted in the need to modify the signage, which they acknowledge on the drawings. I think that should be done now, so we don't have this as a condition where we watch and the next time they come back, the signs are still not corrected. You know, in terms of the zoning map, this is a very unusually shaped block and orientation to the street grid, not even a grid, right? And there's two different, or actually 3 different zoning district boundaries that are shown on the zoning map, one of which is the C13 overlay. And I keep staring at how you're supposed to measure it. And I'm still not sure that this is measured correctly, but I have to say I gave up. This is one of those things where I would have gone to city planning and I would have asked the zoning desk to tell me how to measure it. But anyway, they did correct the district designation because before one of the sides of the district designation was incorrect and now it's corrected. Anyway, on the trash enclosure, I just wasn't sure if the doors are cedar picket also. The sides of the enclosure are, but they didn't indicate what the doors are. The vacuum is shown to be removed. And I want to say, if you remove a vacuum, make sure it's not connected to an air pump, because we learned the hard way that you have to have an air pump at these sites. So I don't think it is, but just checking. And then I wanted to ask, this is a general question to commissioners, but you can tell by my question how I feel about it. The question is, are commissioners satisfied with the depth of the landscaping at the portion of the property that already has more depth to play with than 4 feet? In some cases, I think as much as 12 feet. What's proposed is 1 row of arbor vitae, which is the evergreen. I think we discussed a deeper staggered row in that location since it is immediately adjacent to a home. And then also by planting it would prevent trash storage in that area, and could be supplemented also with ground cover, which discourages them from putting trash on anything that doesn't actually have trees. So obviously that's my preference, but I'd like to hear what others think. They do show the planting without specifying the height of planting at the time of planting. It needs to be planted at a height of 4 feet to begin with to achieve 8 feet of dense buffering shrubs. They're showing 6 feet as the ultimate growth height, and they could end up starting off with these little tiny things that you can buy that often don't make it. Also, I note that Commissioner Shetta at the prior hearing had recommended acoustical fencing behind the 3 parking spots, and I didn't see that shown on the drawings. A survey was provided confirming the property line along Farmers is not in alignment with the neighbor's fence, which goes to what the photographs that Vice Chair Shanda took show. So the asphalt is likely the right demarcation line for the property, and no cars can be parked past that line. The drawings show bollards to be installed to enforce this at that corner. And then the photographs that we just received show a car parked beyond that property line So the bollards are intended to prevent that from happening. We also said that the asphalt needs to be seal coated, and I didn't see a note to that effect on the drawings. And we have had a lot of discussion about the lumen spread diagrams. Because as mentioned at a prior hearing, there seems to be an industry establishing to charge vast quantities for lumen spread diagrams. We're trying to come up with a more economical solution. And this applicant has generously volunteered to be a test case. So they're working on using that methodology on this case. And so we don't have the diagram yet. And then I kind of always like to just remind, because I just want to keep that in the thought for our council for writing the resolution whenever we do decide on this, that this site has a very confused BSA history, and the applicant and our council need to clear that up. This application number, and I've read this note before, I kind of want to keep that note in council's mind when they're working on the resolution. This is application number 523-58BZ, implying naturally that it came to the board in 1958. There's an excellent 1958 resolution that describes the site as basically undeveloped. There is reference in that resolution to a December, in a later resolution to a December 11th, 1923 variance, which says under the subject calendar number. That's obviously incorrect because there couldn't have been a 1923 variance with a 1958 BZ reference. So I'd like the new resolution to correct the errors of the past and to provide a complete history for the site. The applicant has given us a good history of the site. So now there's something to work with. So now Vice Chair Shanda, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was at the site this past weekend, and there are a few things that I observed that should be corrected immediately. And one of them is that we had informed the applicant at the very first hearing, based on the photos submitted, that there shouldn't be any cars on sale. Car selling from this site is not permitted. And when I was at the site, there was 3 cars on sale. And the photos reflect that. Then, as Madam Chair mentioned, that there is still encroachment on the city sidewalk. And the cloth bins that are there, I think from the last photos to the last one, to the ones that I picked, I think number of cloth bins have increased. And because there are cloth bins, there are all these bags that are bags filled with clothes that are kind of, instead of being inside the cloth bin, they're outside. So they're becoming another nuisance and makes the site unsightly, therefore, because of that. And it's very likely these bags can, if it's a windy day, they can be flying all over the place. So that needs to be removed. Also, if you look at the photo, you will see there is an air machine right at the corner of Baisley and Farmers Boulevard. And if you look at it, the tube is actually all left in a tangle, and it's on the city sidewalk. Anybody can step on it and it becomes a tripping hazard. So that is another reason why really we should not be allowing an air pump at the corner or along the city sidewalk. And this site already has an air pump that is located closer to the building. So this air pump should be removed unless required. I don't know if there is a requirement ratio of numbers to whatever. If it is, then you can still locate it interior. It shouldn't be along the side lot line. The other one, in terms of the drawing, I'm glad to hear that they're going to address the signage, because the signage calculation was a little confusing and it seemed it exceeded the requirements. So it's good that that will be addressed. The other comment I had was with regards to the plan. The applicant it's good that the applicant is proposing a trash enclosure. But the placement of the trash enclosure is right in front of the toilet door. And that opening is barely 3 feet. If you look at the measurements, I'm not sure if that is handicap accessible. Second question is, does it need to be handicap accessible, and therefore it doesn't matter? But that's just a code issue, and that needs to be made sure that it is going to be accessible and safe. Those were my main comments. With regards to the landscaping, I think if the landscaping provided along the edge is robust, with a fence, the fence condition is in very poor condition, with a much more residential looking fence, I would be okay with it.
One row, it would be okay.
I would be okay with it. And then you just put grass for the rest of the area, provide so that it doesn't become another area to store unnecessary garbage.
So that's the thing. The reason I always say ground cover is that's more discouraging. Grass is not discouraging. It dies and then you throw stuff on it. You know, grass doesn't.
Actually, that's a good point. I mean, the area is shaded, so I'm not sure how well grass will grow. That's another point.
Okay, so let's say ground cover. Okay. Ground cover is just English ivy. It's nothing. You just plant it and it grows.
Minimal maintenance kind of planting.
Yeah.
It could be even weeds.
One man's ivy is another's weed. So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a question in general about the clothes bins. When I've noticed that a lot of the time the board just says get rid of the clothes bins, but I don't actually understand what the sort of derivation of these clothes bins are, because you don't see them all over the city. You see them at gas stations sometimes. Who manages them? Why are they located at gas stations as opposed to, say, supermarkets? Like, what is that? And does the board have I understand this issue of trash and people actually not even using them properly, and maybe not even using them for clothing. For all you know, you open this thing up and there's something terrible inside. And I would think also it might attract rodents, because as we know, rodents love to gnaw around. So I'm just curious, kind of, I guess Commissioner Ollie Brown or Tony might have institutional memory on this subject. That's why
I know that we really haven't, we've asked to have them taken off. I know some of them are not supposed to be on the streets, things like on the sidewalks and stuff, but the history of them, I don't know.
Yeah, Carlo.
Yeah, it's the same. I mean, we've seen these, at least over a decade, and you're correct. I mean, we typically find them on gas stations, but there is no like formal policy or something that I'm aware of. They just, I don't know if whomever manages these boxes, I guess, just works it out with gas stations. I don't know. Maybe an applicant can explain it, but I've never known why.
It seems like it's an income source. I mean, why would you let somebody put these big boxes on your property unless they're paying rent? So,
yeah.
All right. So that's something to talk about, because a lot of times we just say take them away. But then, I'm not sure if that's doing a disservice to the community or if it's doing a service to the neighbor who may be suffering from living next door to these clothes bins. Tony?
Right, because some of them have been a source of complaints from the constituency, where they say it's a hazard where you're walking past it, you don't know if someone's hiding behind it, or it's always being maintained untidy. Someone goes in there and rips all the clothes out and throws it all over the place, or people are throwing garbage in there, and it poses a hazard of safety.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I think, in certain cases, we've asked them to remove it.
Okay. Thank you. All right, Commissioner Sheta on this.
Don't I go?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I already asked you. I'm sorry. Commissioner Otley Brown. I'm sorry.
Commissioner Otley Brown.
Yeah, right.
I was satisfied with the proof of continuous use. And as for the landscaping, I don't know that 2 rows of landscaping would work in the 4-foot wide portion of the planting, but I would be supportive of the staggered row in the rear where the landscaping patch gets much wider. And did we get a signage analysis form that breaks it down by frontage? Because I didn't see one.
Yes,
We did?
yes.
Okay, and that's it. Then I have no other comments.
Apologies. You know what I do? I look at the initials of who spoke, and then because you spoke before about the, whatever it was, the thing before.
Continuous use.
About the continuous use, so that threw me off. Apologies. Okay. All right.
Next
Okay.
case, or
Yeah, just a second. No, we didn't hear from Commissioner.
Shabeta, Commissioner Shabeta.
No, Sheta. See, you're doing the same thing.
Manejami, I swear to God. Okay. Sorry.
Okay. Go ahead. Go
Thank
ahead.
you, Chair. Yeah, I agree that many of the comments were not responded to, including the noise concerns. Also, I recall that we said something about maneuverability. I haven't seen a maneuverability plan submitted, so hopefully they are working on it. Also, for the planting, I believe 6 feet is not going to be enough, and I agree that next to at least next to the house, if they can like tighten the spacing a little bit or make it 2 rows staggered, that would be much more beneficial to the adjacent residents. Other than that, nothing else. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Commissioner Shabeta.
Thank you, Chair. I'm satisfied with continuous use. I agree that they need to be a bit more creative with landscaping. I also have notes with regard to the acoustical fence. And finally, I'd like to hear what the applicant has to say about what Commissioner Shanda discovered at their site. There needs to be some sort of accountability about that.
Mhm. Okay. Great, thank you.
Oh,
Yep.
item number 15, 80361BZ, 1416 Highland Boulevard, Staten Island.
Okay. We have a submission that consists mostly of the owner's reasons why not to comply with the board's direction to relocate the vacuum and trash enclosure away from the rear yards of the residential properties. I don't think this is responsive to our concerns, although it may be better for business to impose these uses on the residential neighbors. The owners need to come up with a solution that doesn't do that. The business is not more important than the peace and quiet of the homeowners who live adjacent to this use that enjoys the benefit of a use waiver in a light commercial overlay district where the use is not permitted as of right. I now don't understand where the tires go other than inside the building. They are not shown anywhere on the plan. So I actually didn't understand how it was completely removed from discussion. We also don't have a lumen spread diagram, but that may be for similar reasons as the prior case. And as to whether this should be an amendment, this is really a Carlo Costanza question. The sales area is being increased by 100 square feet, and the applicant is arguing that that doesn't rise to the level of an amendment. It's not the building enlargement, it's the sales area for a convenience store is being enlarged by 100 square feet. So, you know, I don't know what board history is, so I'm deferring to Carlo on that. But I do have to say that with respect to the location of these kind of annoying uses adjoining residential, the owner needs to be more creative in responding to us. The answer just can't be no. Yeah, Chase, go ahead.
With respect to the enlargement of the accessory convenience area, if the applicant hasn't already, they should just go through the findings of the DOB TPPN 10 of 99 to demonstrate that the enlarged convenience area still does comply with the TPPN.
That they did already.
Great.
So, okay, yeah, so they've done that. Their argument has been, it's only 100 feet. It shouldn't be an amendment. I don't have an opinion on it. I don't know if board practice has been consistent in terms of that. Like, what's the magic number when it's large enough, you know, that kind of thing. So, or is there a magic number? So, okay, so Vice Chair Shanda.
Yeah, I think the applicant needs to do a more convincing response with regards to relocating the air and the vacuum tower. I think there is space that can become be used for that, and it's a simple solution. It's not a very costly solution that we're asking, so that should be looked into.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, and I was just to add a little bit to that, it seems like their counsel posed the question to them, to the owners, tell us the business reasons for why you can't relocate it. That's not what the board does, right? Not giving us reasons why you can't do it and come up with a solution that satisfies both the business need and the needs of the neighbors. That's the instruction.
Right.
Commissioner,
And
yeah, go ahead.
I just want to, I mean, the applicant used the argument of maneuverability for the reason why where the air tower and the vacuum tower has to be there. When I look at the maneuverability plan, if that is the case, then having it close to having the air and the vacuum tower close to the ADA parking space will not be an issue.
Mhm.
Because it's not in the line. You could have one car parked perpendicular to the ADA parking spot, and that way both the vehicle that is on the parked in the ADA spot and the non-ADA vehicle can access the air tower and the vacuum tower. So I think it's a very easy solution. These are not very expensive. You're just removing the concrete base and moving it from there to another location.
Even expense wasn't cited, and anyway, that's the cost of doing business. If you
Well, let's put it this way: this is not going to be a $25,000 removal and relocation.
no, indeed. Okay, thank you, Commissioner Ollie Brown.
I have concern about their response about the garbage enclosure being behind the building. If you're going to put the landscaping strip in the rear and widen that to 6 feet with the curb, but still have the garbage enclosure back there, it kind of undoes everything that you're trying to achieve, because where there is a garbage enclosure, inevitably there are rodents. And you're giving them safe harborage amongst all of the different plants that you would plant there, and that's problematic.
Mm-hmm.
That's my only comment.
Thank you. Commissioner Shetta.
Thank you, Chair. I have nothing else to add.
Commissioner Shibata.
There we are. Thank you, Chair. I think they have, there is a simple solution to the trash enclosure. I think that they have to be mindful and respect their neighbors. And I don't think it's too much to ask. This is a very large site. There are places you can place this. We could come up with expensive solutions to it. I think they can be creative and find something that is very cost efficient, and they should invest their interest in that as opposed to finding excuses why not to.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, price hasn't been mentioned as a reason, not that it's a reason, because this site benefits from a very important waiver of the zoning regulations, which is worth a lot of money. So Okay. We got everybody. Okay.
Okay, item number 16, 52871 BZ, 13340, 150 50th Street, Queens.
We have photos submitted dated 2/17/21 showing a fence was installed somewhere anyway. It's photos of a fence. The goal was to close off access to the property at the rear that is being used illegally for public parking. The photos show double gates that are wide, which is confusing because nothing else shows double gates. None of the drawings do. And those double gates are wide enough to allow cars to drive through. The photos did not come with a key plan, so it's unknown where the gate is. At this point, there should only be a 3-foot wide gate for pedestrian access. So obviously there's an opportunity for cars to drive in here. Photos that were taken later in April 7th were also provided that appear to show no parking in the fenced area. But I do believe we had some testimony from someplace that indicated that they saw parking back there. Drawings show the fenced area to be planted with grass. That was not the direction of this board, nor of the prior board. The only way to stop access for illegal parking is to heavily landscape this area. So just as shown on the previously approved set of drawings, trees should be planted along the fence lines and the street frontage so that you can't come in with an illegal curb cut from the street, and you can't come in from these side yards. And I also noticed that the adjacent property has a parking lot, so that area needs to be fenced with landscaping so that you can't drive in through that parking lot in case there's any connection to this site. I mean, I didn't research the ownership. The street frontage fencing also should be replaced with metal picket to match the fencing to the rear of the gas station that's being proposed. This is a residential district and it should be respectful of the residential character. I believe based on the photos, the trailers have been removed from the site. But that's because we don't see them in the photographs. But I would like Ted Ricketts, our compliance officer, if Ted is listening, please, to do a site visit there to verify the parking, the trailer condition, and so on. And then, yeah, I also have notes to our council, but I can leave that off for now. Okay, so Vice Chair Shanda.
Thank you. So I agree with you. The landscaping needs to be much more dense, and that would deter any possibility of the space behind the facility being used as any storage or any vehicular parking area. The illuminated sign is more than the permitted amount of 50 square foot. So that needs to be revised and corrected before we close the hearing. And this is specifically the 150th Street signage. 56 square foot is eliminated. North Conduit also 62 square foot is eliminated. So they are both, if you go by each frontage, it is more than 50 square foot. So both of those signage has to.
So 150th Street and which?
And North Conduit Avenue. Both the signage analysis shows that the illuminated signage along 150th and North Conduit both are more than 50 square foot permitted.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
With regards to, again, somehow I don't know why I'm on an airbag rant. So this site also has an airbag that is at the corner at the end of the lot line. This can easily be relocated and moved to be next to parking space 2 and 3. This way, you have a clear maneuverability area from the curb cut that is on the northernmost end of the site. And and it provides pedestrian safety.
Great. I see, is that it?
Yeah.
Okay, I see our compliance officer's hand up. Ted, go ahead.
Hey, good morning. I just wanted to go over the conditions the board exactly wants to see during the site visit. That was the trailer. Did you mention a trailer?
Right, so there were trailers parked on the site, and adjacent to the site, that is the gas station, there's this big open area that had been used for parking of both cars and trucks. And it should have no parking in it. That's in a residence district and it's not allowed to be used as a parking lot.
I'm sorry, the site that you're referring to for the parking lot, is that part of this owner's property?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's part of the owner's property. They just put up a fence between the gas station and that property. So you'll see this big vacant lot behind the gas station. And that big vacant lot with a fence around it needs to be empty of all commercial activities, including parking.
Thank you. That was it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, Commissioner Otley Brown.
I think that the site plan definitely is showing that the conditions will be improved on this site. However, I do agree with you that grass is not going to be suitable landscaping for that area behind the building because, like you said, it's not, grass is not a deterrent to cars and all sorts of things like aging, rusting equipment and whatever, you know, and so therefore there should be some tall tree-like landscaping things back there. That's it.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Sheta.
Thank you, Chair. I agree that landscaping is like in the form of trees is the best way to like make sure that this area, I believe it's east to the side, is not going to be used for parking. So I don't think grass is a practical solution here. Cars drive over all the time and even park over grassy areas all the time. So I'm in agreement with other board members. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Shabeta.
Thank you, Chair. My comments are the same as my colleagues. I have nothing more to add.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, oh, sorry, am I
No.
muted now? Okay, this concludes the public review session.
Wait.
There's one more case.
We have one more, 350.
Where?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was looking at the other one. Sorry, item number 17, 31590 BZ 8206 Astoria Boulevard. Sorry, I moved my sheet, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Jella.
There is a consent form from the adjacent hotel manager stating that they have no issue with the site lighting, which was something, you know, I was thinking if I were a hotel guest, the lighting from the adjacent use might drive me crazy. The lumen spread diagram indicates the light nearest the hotel will be shielded. I can't tell if the diagram takes the shielding into account, but the lumens at the hotel parking lot, according to that diagram, the parking lot property line exceeds 0.0. But I also see photos that were provided from the hotel parking lot that show the hotel itself provides its own strong lighting in that area. So I don't really think that this is really an issue to worry about. I just wanted to know what the trash pickup frequency is. There's a photo that shows the trash enclosure overflowing and the exterior of that enclosure in need of a paint job. So it should get the paint job, but it seems like they're not having adequate trash pickup frequency based on that photograph, unless they increase the frequency since then. So those are my comments. Okay, Vice Chair Shannon.
I have no comments on this. I'm satisfied with the application.
Okay. Commissioner Otley Brown.
I'm satisfied with the revisions.
Okay. Commissioner Sheta.
Yeah, I'm satisfied with the revisions, and I want to thank them for the letter that they got from the adjacent hotel. It was weird for me to get that kind of letter, but I'll take it.
Okay, and Commissioner Shabeta.
Satisfied and prepared to close on this.
Okay. Good. Thank you. All right, Tony.
Okay, now, this concludes the public review session for April 26th, 2021, 10 a.m. session. We will now commence with the public hearing for April 26th, 2021, 10 a.m. session. So SOC calendar, continued hearing items, item number 14, 523-58 BZ, 11730 Farmers Boulevard, Queens. Mr. Catrona in the room?
No,
Not yet.
can someone text him? Still not. Oh, there we are.
No.
He's there. He's answering. When you can hear us, please.
I hear you.
Okay, great.
Is there anyone else with you, Mr. Catrona? Just you?
We should have Kobe Mizrahi, who's the owner operator of the station.
No, we don't. Can we proceed without?
Give me one moment.
Okay.
Okay. I asked my assistant to reach out and give him a call.
Okay.
Do you want to proceed without him?
I'm good to go. Be mindful of everybody's time here.
Thank
He'll jump on.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board and to respond honestly to board member questions?
I do.
Please
Yes.
state your name for the record and proceed.
Yes. Good morning, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, Commissioners, and BSA staff. My name is Glenn Catrona, Catrona Architecture PLLC. I'm here representing 117-30 Farmers Boulevard. I heard loud and clear all of the comments in the executive session. I'd be happy to begin to respond in that manner and go through each one of the points, if that's okay. Yep. Okay, terrific. So, Chair, I appreciate the comment about responsiveness. We always aim to answer and be mindful of everybody's time here and on behalf of our clients and representing our work respectfully. So we talked about the history. Now, we went through that history meticulously because there were, very, very direct comments about the history previously. It is confusing to an extent, but I think if you go, to the submission that we had recently put in, we went through everything as detailed as we possibly can. I think it's more on the side of how these resolutions were recorded previously, but we'd be very happy to go through in detail with staff on that there. So that was corrected. The signage was done by frontage. There were some minor issues. Mostly there was the illuminated sign was over. Our client has agreed to remove the illumination component, and therefore it'll put us in compliance. There was two minor issues. The signage needs to be no higher than the parapet of the building. One was 3 inches, one was 5 inches. That's in the process of being corrected. All of the district designations, Vice Chair Shonda had asked last time, the district boundary lines, it's measured 125 feet. perpendicular off of Baisley Boulevard. It's noted clearly on our drawing BSA 1-1, the last drawing that we had submitted. Also, I just want to reiterate, there was a question last hearing regarding this widening area. And yes, one of the pump islands with one pump is over the widening area. In speaking with our clients about 10 or 11 years, I added in the statement of facts, they made improvements along the prolongation of Baisley Boulevard. They came to this location. They were entertaining looking at this intersection. It was chosen at that time not to take any action or make any changes to this intersection, though you would imagine that if the city made an improvement in the future, our client would do all they need to do to comply. So, you know, if there is ever an improvement, you know, we'll deal with it at that point. But just to confirm that question the last time. So you asked about the trash.
Just 1 second on that. If you look at the resolutions, they
Yes,
actually address this widening question. They say the pump is now beyond the widening line, but if there's ever the city decides to take and improve that, then the pump will be relocated. So that already exists in the resolution. It could be reiterated just to follow it through in the next resolution, but it's already, I don't think it was a condition. It was it was one of the many whereas is kind of the understanding. And Vice Chair Shanda has her hand up.
Yeah, I still think that the note should be there on the plan, because oftentimes plans are the ones that people look at first and foremost. So I think then there should be a note, and I appreciate the note that has been added into the plan and along with what's there in the resolution.
so Vice Chair, you're saying add a note acknowledging the encroachment and
I think you had a note somewhere. I thought you said that it would be relocated as and when city.
I added that to
Ready.
I added that to my statement of facts. That was
Okay,
acknowledged in
so
the
maybe
update.
I would like to see that on the plan, because oftentimes over time, text and drawings get separated, and it would be good to have some of these critical markers on the same, on both documents.
Okay, duly noted. I see that my client has.
I do have another question, and that's regarding the sign. The drawing on BSA 2.2, there is a chart, and I was trying to see, and I was trying to compare the chart with the rest of the charts that's on the following pages of 3.3 and 4.3, and I couldn't match them. So if you can help me understand where that, what is that chart representing?
That chart's an all-encompassing charts because we have three different tenancies here. So what we did was we broke them up by tenancies, and then the balance are all by frontage, okay, as was requested by Commissioner Otley Brown at the last hearing. So each one of the additional charts on BSA 3.3 is the breakdown specifically by frontage, but we are acknowledging that there's three separate tenancies in here.
Okay, that's what I suspected, but I don't think it's adding up.
We'll take a closer look at that there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yep. Oh, you got those notes, right? Okay. So Madam Chair had asked about the trash enclosure. So let me talk at that there at a couple of so the trash enclosure will be cedar. It'll be sort of like a board on board, just so that it's a little bit more natural looking in the location that it's going. I will acknowledge that there is a door that was an exterior entry and exit to the toilet that's actually there, which has not been utilized in years. There's no requirement for the toilet to be provided. It's a courtesy. Although if you look at the plan, you'll note that the toilet is accessed off of the office area. And of course, if somebody needed to use the restroom, they would permit that use. In terms of the building, you know, the building predates. I don't believe, that there's an accessible route there because we're going up a curb. Additionally, the size of that existing toilet, predates any sort of, acknowledgement with accessibility. So we're not making any change to the plan. It will be as a courtesy. We wanted to get the trash off of the residential property line. We looked very closely about, regarding the site. If I moved it to the other side, I was getting to the other residential property line. So the location here is workable. It gets the trash enclosure off the residential property line, and it's going to be enclosed to 2-yard containers, and it's accessible for the pickup. And we thought it was the best place to go. But yes, it will be fully enclosed. The gates will also be cedar gates. We've utilized this detail in other locations. It's a little more pleasant than, some sort of chain link fence. The vacuum will be removed. I just double checked. It is not part of the air pump that's at that particular location, so it's easily removable. Our clients have acknowledged removing that. Now there was a number of comments regarding the plantings, and we do have the situation where there is a contiguous opaque fence, which was part of the prior approval, which is actually an acceptable term in the zoning resolution, although we want to be compliant, and we think it's a better opportunity. Our clients have agreed. Madam Chair, if you go to our drawing, a BSA 1-1, I noted, there's noted in 2 places on there specifically what you were asking for us to have and acknowledge, which is abrevieties at 4 foot on center at the time of planting, and expected to grow to be maintained height at 6 feet within 3 years, and that these shrubs, in the event that they need to be replaced, we acknowledge that these need to be maintained and replaced. Sure.
But 4 foot in center is the spacing between the trees. It isn't how big they are at the time of you planting them. We often get images of people going to, Home Depot or something, and they get a little 6-inch beginner seedling, really, and it gets burned out in July, and then that's the end of that plant. That's why we start off with a shrub that's 4 feet high, so that it's more likely to take. And its ultimate growth height is 8 feet, not 6, but but it's actually, it's the same tree. It's going to grow to 8 feet anyway. You just need to give it a better chance by starting off with a larger tree.
Understood. The note will be added to the plan, no question.
Okay.
At the end of those comments that you had made, Commissioner Shetta jumped in and made a comment about the acoustical fencing, which is basically behind the 3 parking space, which is 1, 2, and 3. I'd like to say to the commissioner that I pride myself on listening very carefully. We would not ignore a comment. It's just that at this particular hearing, I wanted to have the opportunity to to just give you some of the thoughts that I had. We have the opaque fence there. We are providing dense planting at the correct heights, the correct spacing. Cars, I have not been there where I've seen many cars actually parking near the queue. I don't know that the automotive business is all that busy, but in any respect, the car is simply pulling in there, shutting down. It's not running. They'll back it out. If this is a specific, and we do need to address this, I want to say that we will, although I would have liked to have had that statement, at least for the record, that this is not a place where anything is running. And we're making, we've agreed to every single improvement here. To be upfront with that, there's been no objection from our client to make these improvements. We looked at it more of that his business is functioning there, and it's always nice to have I asked him to drive up to his business as if he's not driving to his business and seeing what he sees when he drives up to the business. So there's been no objection, but I don't believe that we have a noise concern. I will drill down on that or address it at the time I have more of Commissioner Shetta's points down the road. We are sealing the asphalt. I will actually add that there a note as well. We acknowledged it in the statement of facts, but we will jump on that. So, I want to get on this lumen diagram, this lumen spread diagram for a moment. Okay, so I had sourced it out and went to a consultant, went back to my clients. It's to do it at the level of the administrative notice is a fair amount of work. I want to thank, Deputy Director Carla Costanza for giving us some time so that we could vet this through. We have this case and we have several others that require lumen spread diagrams. We also have other cases that we're preparing that will be submitted later. We made a choice to do this here in-house, start to look at it, do the research. A week or so ago, I purchased a lumen meter. The lumen meter came and the lumen meter said that it was for LED white light and that it would also read the other lighting sources. But when I opened up the owner's manual, it said that the other lighting sources besides LED have what they call an unspecified accuracy. So I contacted the company that I purchased the meter from and learned a little bit more. So I purchased a brand new meter, which is a color LED light meter, which will allow the accurate reading. There is a 3% variance in there, but we'll read the other lighting sources because I felt in certain cases it can help and hurt us. While at this particular location, lighting is mostly LED, I would be reading ambient sources off-site, which likely may not be LED. And in a lot of different cases, there'd be other sites where I may be measuring ambient lighting on a street light or something which would not be an LED source. So we purchased the new meter. We're actually scheduled to go out tomorrow evening to do the field work. And just want to say that, we put the time in to understand this here and try to make it so that it's palatable for our clients and something where we can actually get a drawing. The drawing is actually mocked up and ready to go. It just needs the field information put to it. So I would have liked to have had the lumen spread diagram submitted prior to this hearing, although I made a decision that the meter that I had was probably something which wasn't going to do the right thing. And so had to purchase a new one in any respect.
So, it's with lights off and lights on. That way you find out what is being caused by your site as opposed to off-site lighting.
Yeah, ambience being eliminated. If you do lights on and lights off, ambience is being eliminated, so you don't have to worry about them.
Well, Commissioner Shetta, at the property lines with the residential, I do have two adjacent. I mean, the site now, the subject site. I have to actually measure at the height of the fence to make sure that we're at 0, 0. I do need to take ambient because there may be lights on it on the particular adjacent building, or maybe a wash.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah. No, we're familiar.
Lights off. You take readings with lights off.
Uh-huh.
If it's 2 foot candles already with lights off, that the source of the light is from across the property line.
Sure. We're familiar.
You're not the cause of it being over 0.0, right? That's the reason for the lights off version.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. We invested the time to understand it and did a lot of reading on it. So that's for sure.
We really appreciate your willingness to experiment with this, because we see that though the board has required lumen spread diagrams for, I think, decades, all of a sudden it's become this enormous industry that seems to be profiting,
Yeah,
unfortunately, from the BSA's direction now, so.
understood. You know, I mean, practicing for 30+ years, I've never worked on an existing building where we didn't take our own field measurements accurate. And so we're very familiar with the field work. It's just something else that we're adding to our service. We feel it'll benefit our clients, and also there's a comfort of understanding what's involved. I would look at this here from the beginning of taking on a case now, rather than, you know, something that we had to learn and put together, but we're there. So I would say within a week or so, I can have that lumen spread diagram and the results of the lumen spread diagram submitted to the board. You know,
I just want to mention something regarding the noise, not to like confuse you. Let me show the site. I have the aerial image here. If you look at how close the building is to the site, it's practically the cars are parking right next to the window. If that house was like probably 15 feet away or so, I wouldn't be concerned about noise. But what I'm concerned about is, you see this window, you need to put some sort of barrier. So I'm not asking you to put a sound barrier from here to here. If you can just talk to your engineer, and if he can engineer something to cover just this portion. Is that clear? Do you see that?
Commissioner Sheta, I thought,
Just,
you know,
just that.
yeah. Prior to this discussion right here, and I hear you loud and clear, and I see that, we were actually talking about the 3 spots that are beyond the fence in the back there as well. That was my understanding of where you were actually asking for this, but we'll look at it.
Yeah, that's what I actually understood, that we were looking at the 3 cars, not the one to the side. And I grant that it's very close to that house. That's what the reason for the 8-foot shrubs are also. But yeah, well taken, point taken, and you can certainly, if your bedroom is that window, not.
And just an opaque fence and shrubs do not contribute. Actually, if you talk to any sound consultants, these kind of barriers do not contribute to sound insulation.
Right, we've learned that, yes.
Okay, thank you for the clarification there. I really appreciate that. So Vice Chair Shanda, I appreciate your field visit over the weekend. I called my client because I'm a passive person, but I can get angry if I'm pushed enough. And, you know, we have affidavits. We've discussed that point ad nauseum. And he said to me, Glenn, it's not the case. He said, we do repairs for automobiles. He said, you know, he called up the mechanics, and if I would say, I don't see the pictures, but I understand that there was just a year on that car, because that car wasn't there for the sales. That has been discontinued. That car was there as a car that would be for sale off-site on a different site, but was there simply to be repaired. So they didn't take off the year of the car. So the car was just there getting repaired. It wasn't there as a matter of, you know, a car on site for sale.
No, but she saw, no, maybe we could share that photo because Mr. Catrona hasn't had a chance to see it yet. Does someone have access to that who can do a share? Mr. Shet is really good with this.
Yes, I'll do it.
Okay. There were three or four cars with a sign that actually said for sale,
Is
right?
there a phone number attached to that anywhere on the car?
I don't know yet. I don't think so. I think they just say for sale. Commissioner Shanda, you're muted if you wanted to speak.
I took some more pictures. I didn't upload all of them. I'm trying to see if any of those captured the no. but I'll have to zoom in all the way. It did,
You can't see.
it had a number on it, and none of these had plates. So that's why I assume these are cars for sale.
It seems pretty suspect that 3 vehicles just happened to be for repair, all 3 of them lined up with for
Next to each
sale
other.
signs next to each other. I think perhaps counsel, a more crass conversation with your client might be in order.
Yeah,
But it sounds like this spot is being assigned for cars that's gonna go for sale, like since whenever. Because when you look at the aerial image, the street view, you can clearly see that the same cones with the same chain around the same 3 spots is there. So
yeah, I'd have to
I
ask
don't
that
think-
question clearly. Absolutely. I see it. I thank you. You know, I have my client with us. I don't know if Jacob would want to reiterate that, but you know, the clarity is that there is no sale of vehicles on this site.
Yeah, I'm doing the gas station.
Tony, he's not sworn in, Tony.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, 1 second. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board and to respond honestly to board member questions?
Yes, I do.
All right,
I
state
do.
your name for the record.
Yes. Yeah, Jacob Mizrahi.
Okay, go ahead.
Proceed.
I spoke to the mechanic because I'm running the gas station and he's renting it for me, this garage. And he said that we're maintaining the vehicles. He's selling it, it's been sold off property. It's not going to be sold there.
But why are you showing cars that are for sale? I don't understand.
No, it doesn't show it. It's just parked there waiting for when you have time, he take care of it. He take care of regular people, business. And then when in between, when you have time, he take care of those cars.
Take care of them in terms of repair?
Like maintenance, or if they need repair. And then people, it's being sold. They buy it not 100% good. They check it. They have to bring it to a good condition and then they sell it. The time they work on those cars is the time that is like there's no customers in the garage. That's when they work on those cars. To be efficient, as a business owner, you have to be efficient.
So you can take down any indication that the cars are for sale, though.
Yeah, I that's what I told him to save all this confusion. It's I told him to remove the year also. The numbers that are there is the year of the car. So I told him just remove all stickers, any indication that anything is for sale. So he said, okay, he will do that.
Okay.
Now you're not permitted to have unlicensed vehicles on your site like that?
If you're repairing, I don't know, shouldn't you be allowed to repair cars that are unlicensed before they're sold? I mean, they must.
They would drive them there with dealer plates likely,
Mhm.
you know, and take the plate off and it's sitting there for repair. Jacob, you are clear about this. This is a condition of this board, of this approval. Please
Yes, I do.
what you need to do. The affidavits were submitted and you need to make sure that the tenant is abiding by that. Otherwise, it puts you in a bad place, please.
Yeah, I'll pay more attention.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the encroachment on the sidewalk, you saw in those photographs, that sidewalk is being encroached on in the location because the residential property simply to the south, their fence line is an encroachment. So we cannot align. You see on our plans, we're going to be putting fixed bollards, okay, with a chain, nothing movable, so that condition is mitigated. There was a comment about the air pump that is located on the corner and that the hose was tangled up and sitting on the sidewalk. I spoke to Jacob before. You know, he said that there is an absolute demand. People utilize these air pumps. He will put a better method in which they can maintain, and his operational staff will look at it. He really doesn't want to remove it, if that is okay, and he'll do a better job at maintaining operationally there. But in any respect, he says there's an absolute demand, you know.
No, so
air
not
pump.
about having an air pump. In fact, we learned it's required by law to have an air pump. So the problem is that when they're located too close to the property line, they tend to encourage parking on the sidewalk. And then as Vice Chair Shanda noted, the hose falling on the sidewalk. So that's the issue. Maybe there's a way to have bollards or something that prevents the cars from parking on the sidewalk in order to access the air pump. And more than that, something that ensures that it's impossible for the hose to fall onto the sidewalk, like a low wall or something. Actually, I don't remember if this was the site, but I remember reading one of the resolutions from way back in the day, like in 1958, when there was a requirement to put a low wall at the corner of the site, which was never done. Maybe it was for some similar purpose to confine activity within the site. So maybe that's a solution you can look at if the idea is to keep the pump where it is, but still not have the chance of cars parking on the sidewalk and the hose falling on the sidewalk and being a hazard. Yeah, Vice Chair Shanda, go ahead.
Madam Chair, we don't have the maneuverability plan, and that is also critical in understanding where the air pump is located, because at this intersection of Baisley Boulevard, there are two curb cuts, one from Farmers and one from Baisley accessing the site, which is very close to the pedestrian intersection. So, and the pedestrian crosswalk. So I am not very comfortable having the air pump there, because that will inevitably result in either a car parked partially on the sidewalk or entirely, given the maneuverability area. So I do think it should be relocated, and it can be relocated next to the trash bin. It's not like there isn't enough space. It can be done. I just don't think that is the location for, given the sharp corner it has a very tight intersection with two pedestrian crosswalks right next to each other. I don't think it's an ideal location.
Understood. Okay. All right.
We will take a better look at that. At the last hearing,
May I say something?
Sure, go ahead.
The machine is underneath the ID sign, and there's plenty of space, and the cars never park on the sidewalk, never. There's a big space underneath the signs that's not interfering with the curb cuts. So there's plenty of space for a car to stand there and take air and just leave. They don't interfere. They never park on the curb. There's plenty of space there.
Okay. We need a maneuverability so we can really understand this, because it is pretty hard to believe that a car parked in front of that pump isn't blocking access from potentially two different curb cuts. It's like, where does the car go? So if the car is parked there and blocking access from the curb cut, then what is that doing to the traffic and so on? So we need to see a maneuverability plan. how cars are parking there, how you encourage cars to park properly next to that pump, et cetera. Otherwise, moving it is a doable solution, and we often have them moved. So, yeah. I don't want to spend too much more time going back and forth with this. We've been on this case for a while. Is there anything else that you want to discuss?
I think for the most part, I'm good. The only thing that I would add is that I contacted Jacob in between regarding the clothesbins, because there was a comment about the clothesbins. Okay.
Right.
Can I talk about that, or you want to move on? We could address that there.
Quickly, yes, please.
Yeah, okay. So there are 2 clothesbins there. They're a charitable donation. They definitely help out the people in the community. Jacob had mentioned to me that there are 2 to 3 pickups per week. 2 of the bins, they're locked. What happened was that somebody actually dumped some garbage there over the weekend, which was removed. He didn't know that there was a field visit, a site visit, but they were removed. Somebody actually just took the opportunity and dumped 2 bags of garbage there. They were discarded, and he understands that they need to be kept neat. But it's a company called Helpsy, Helpsy. If you want to take a look, I just learned about it now. I'm going to take a closer look at it. I didn't have much time in between here. But I think the main thing is that you can see Jacob is ready to do what he needs to do operationally. We'll take a closer look at that. I'm clear with the comments that were made. We will resubmit and follow up shortly.
Okay, so we're going to go to the public, and then we'll talk about how much time you need. Okay, let's go to the public first.
The application we are currently discussing is 52358BZ, 11730 Farmers Boulevard, Queens. Zoom webinar, the call-in number is 646-558-8656. Zoom webinar ID number is 941-8721-3822. Passcode is 614319. And if you are calling in, you can raise your hand, *9 for the raise your hand, and *6 to unmute that call. If you are in the Zoom room already, please raise your Zoom hand.
Okay, so while we wait to see if anyone calls in or raises their hand, there's a few people in the waiting room, 2 telephone numbers in the waiting room. If you'd like to speak on this application, it's *9 to raise your hand. Okay, so how much time do you need to submit this, your response?
It's manageable. So I would tell you that you give me an idea of when's the next available hearing and when my submission date would be. I'm ready. We're going to do the lumen spread diagram this week. We'll have that completed. The maneuverability plan we'll put together, and we'll look at and address the rest of the issues. I think we could do it very timely. I'd like to keep it moving.
Right, so tell me how much time you need.
Couple of weeks, 2 weeks.
2 weeks to submit?
Yes.
Think that's enough, really?
If you want to move it to the next hearing, that's fine too.
No, I'm not negotiating the hearing. I just want to know how much time do you need to submit?
It'll take 2 weeks to get this work done.
Okay, all right. Vice
Yeah, Madam Chair, I was looking through the field photos. I didn't submit all of them, but there are 3 cloth bins. So please do revise the drawings if you do intend to keep it. And I would suggest and provide an operational plan about the pickup and drop and of the clothing bins.
May I just ask my client, Jacob, did you add another clothing bin there? Because my photographs and documentation were only 2. All right, we can move on.
Yeah, I only can screen share. I mean, this is what I have.
I see that. Thank you, Vice Chair.
Thanks.
Okay.
Okay, and we know, of course, commissioners do drive-bys all the time, as does our compliance officer. So there's never an announcement in advance. So
that's good.
On the way to project, they see another, and that's the way it is. So you have to be on good behavior all the time. That's the whole point.
Okay.
And next time we drive by there, make sure that there is no car sale. Maybe we're gonna negotiate on one of the cars to make sure that it's not for sale.
Right.
Okay.
So watch for that.
The beans, there was a huge demand, and we requested the company, the charity company, to bring one more. So there's more space, and that's definitely would save all. If somebody intend to leave bags outside, it's not going to happen because there's going to be plenty of space. People actually happy about those bins.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to take a break. We're past our break time. We're going to take a 10-minute break. We're back at 12:25. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you much.
Okay.
Okay, is everyone there?
Yeah.
So on to the next case.
Yeah, Commissioner Shetta says he needs another 5 minutes. So do I, but here I am.
Go.
We have 3. Yes, we can go.
Quorum? Okay. Item number 15, 80361 BZ, 1416 Holland Boulevard, Staten Island. We're back on the record, sorry. Public hearing, April 26, 2021, 10 a.m.
Right. This is, yeah.
Hello.
There you go. Okay. Thank you. Are other people joining you?
Yeah, I'm just fixing my screen.
There are 2 people who have phone numbers. Oh, I see.
Yeah. So those 2 people are probably it, and there's an Eric Forlano. So there's a 516 number that should be there.
Yes.
That's that should be Andrew Stewart from High Point, the architect engineer.
Okay.
Eric Forlano.
And then there's one more number. I don't know what I can look.
There's actually 2 more numbers.
Okay, let me try.
5328. Maybe actually the 328 is Mr. Forlano. Could that be? Also.
No, she said 516 was Stewart.
Yeah, but the number 7182, the 718 number is Forlano if he's also on a.
He's on. And 516, say again, who is that?
Is Mr. Stewart. He is from High Point Engineering.
And then there's a 917 635 number.
And then there's another number that is the dealer.
Okay. So is it Andrew Stewart? Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So are we all here?
So I don't know. So the number that's 635, last 3 digits, can you identify, please? You unmute yourself by *6. And turn off your YouTube.
Andrew Stewart from High Point Engineering is here.
Right. And then there's someone with a 635, last 3 digits. Can you unmute yourself, please? *6. I don't know if that, I know that YouTube has a very long delay, so. And if you're on YouTube, please turn off your YouTube when you speak. All right, let's proceed. The person with 635 isn't answering.
Okay. Is Eric answering? Eric, are you here?
Milano is in the room.
Mr. Forlano, please unmute *6.
No, he doesn't need to do it.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Because we're all going to need to swear in. So that's why I'm trying to make sure everybody can speak.
And the number 917, whatever that is, 635. Could you please unmute *6?
Doesn't seem to hear.
All right, let's move forward. Raise your right hand.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah,
everybody.
Yes, everyone.
Okay.
Everyone who's going to speak or participate.
Sorry,
must-
the 635, last 3 digits, 635. Could you identify yourself, please?
Yeah, I'm dealer Mustafa Çetin.
Say your name again slowly.
Mustafa Çetin.
Chetin? Okay.
Yes.
Chetin?
No, Cetin.
Oh, someone else did it. Okay, thank you.
Okay. I'm going to swear you all in. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board, and to respond honestly to board member questions?
I do.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Okay.
I do.
Please state your name for the record, Ms. Folder, and proceed.
I'm sorry. Sorry.
What?
What are we doing?
I'm sorry. There was something happened in our building, so I lost connection. So did I miss anything?
No, we just started we just started Island Boulevard, 80361 BZ. Champa?
There again.
Sorry.
Vice Chair?
There.
Yeah?
Yeah, you didn't miss
I
any.
just called 80361 BZ.
Okay. All right.
Okay, everything okay? Can you go up? Okay.
Elise Fullader from Eric Palatnik, PC. We listened to your comments and we discussed them. So I guess first we would like to discuss both the air vac and the tires in the rear. I have both the dealer and Mr. Farlano from British Petroleum to talk about why they decided or why they want to have each of the things where they have them. And I would like to share my screen if I could to show the plan so we can use that for the discussion. Is that okay? Just the maneuverability plan. Okay. Stop. I screwed up. Sorry.
No, you didn't.
Revised plan. Here we are. Okay. Eric. So you can see the maneuverability plan, correct? So Eric, if you would like to explain why first maybe the air vac, you chose that location and then the trash.
Okay. As you could see on the diagram, the flow of traffic is mainly coming in from the Highland Boulevard side. And that's because the islands are designed as speed islands and they're on a 45-degree angle. And that's the main flow of traffic. That station is very high volume. It usually, it could be up to 1,000 cars a day passing, fueling up at this location. And as you see, you know, they exit, they flow through, they exit out the Reed Avenue side mainly. The proposed area where the air towers that the board is asking us to do is to the right side there along that row of bushes.
Sorry,
And-
sorry, 1 second. Elise, can you control the pointer, right? Can you point
Yeah.
to what he's talking about?
Okay, so Eric, so which one are you discussing this year now or?
Well, that's the
That's
present
the current.
location. Oh, that's the present location.
Okay,
And then,
great.
by the way, that's been in that location for, I would assume, over 30 years, because I've been around for 30 years. And the proposed location goes to the right side.
Oh, around here, right?
Yes, yes. And that area actually is a lot smaller than it looks, especially when cars are fueling up and cars are maneuvering around the islands. What would happen is a vehicle that needs air, and there's many of them that need air, that just come in for air alone, not only fuel. They would have to either enter through Highland Boulevard and squeeze around and then park themselves there, or they have to come, which the majority are going to come from Reed Avenue, and they have to go against the flow of traffic, across the front of the building, where many people are walking into the building from the islands to pay for their fuel. And then it's ending up facing the right side against that. And now that vehicle has to turn around and actually try to get out of there with the flow of vehicles coming in.
Because they probably have to go back this way.
Yeah, right. Well, he's gonna try to, do a 360 and get out of there some way. That's one of the problems. The other problem, and it's a very dangerous situation. This is nothing about finance here. This is totally dangerous situation. We have no problems in the other corner of the site where they're presently located. That's actually in the front yard. It's not near a house. The house is set back, and there's no bedrooms. There's no rooms. It's in the front yard on that corner. Again, it's been out of the way. It's been no trouble in there, and I don't see how we should do that. It's going to really create a lot of problems for us.
So can I just kind of go back to this? So This is a use that's not permitted as of right in the district, right? And it's a heavy use. It's a use that's normally only permitted in manufacturing districts or very high intensity commercial districts. And it's being allowed to be located surrounded by houses. And this is the way I paint it each time. You live there. You live in those 3 houses that are right up against this property. And there are cars coming there all the time for, this is an air vac. We're talking about the vacuum more than we're talking about the air, right? Because air isn't noisy like a vacuum cleaner, right? This board has told people, that's it, take your vacuum out. We don't have to allow it. And rather than doing that, we're saying, put it in a place where you won't be disturbing neighbors, where the reason we said move it to the right side where it's arguably entered from Highland is because that side of the property turns out to be commercial, even though it looks like a house. So you're answering with, we don't want to do it because it's bad for our business. We're saying you need to live with the reality that you're next to residences, and that if you were someone living there, you would hate this, that there's someone with this noisy vacuum. So maybe the choice is either take out the vacuum and just forget it, or locate it next to the commercial business. And you don't need to locate it where we said there's parking spaces 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe that's where it goes. But or something else, another idea. But you can't have the reaction that we're not going to make any of the changes because it's bad for our business. It's bad for the neighbors. And the fact that they don't complain anymore is because neighbors get used to living next to a nuisance. They realize there's nothing they can do about it. And our job is to try to reduce the sort of nuisance impact as much as we can, given that there is this arguably incompatible use adjoining a residence. So the answer can't be, no, we don't feel like it. The answer has to be, okay, we don't like where the board is recommending, but this is another solution. Or the board just says, in the case of the vacuums, take them out. Okay, so we don't have to have a long discussion about this. That's your job as are you the engineer?
No, he's from BP. He's managing the site.
Okay, so the job as the engineer is to work it out, right? This is a privilege to be able to operate a use that would never normally be permitted in this zoning district next to these houses, and you need to make modifications. So that's simple. Okay, so let's move on to the next subject.
Okay, the next was the trash, which is similar for maneuverability, but Eric, do you want to discuss it?
No, so you don't need to discuss it. You need to solve it. Same problem, right? The trash is imposing rodents, odors, the noise of the trash pickup on the residents. We know a lot about this subject because we get noise studies all the time. We get testimony from neighbors who are complaining, who are deciding not to just deal with it and get used to it. And so you have the site is big. There's places to put it. You should put it there. Okay.
Commissioner Perlmutter. The other proposed spot is also up against 2 houses.
Right. What I realize 4, 5, and 6 isn't a good location because it's up against the houses. But in other words, there's either you get rid of the vacuum or you put it where we suggest, and you deal with how you advise people to come into using it, and then something similar for where the trash goes.
Well, I'm talking about the trash receptacle now. Not the air vacuum. And that it would go in parking space number 5. That was the proposal.
It was here. It was here. It was in parking space 3. It was next to
away from the residences, right?
It was right where this area is.
Mm-hmm. So, you know, we don't need to talk about this in depth. The job of your engineer is to figure out where it can go and make the maneuverability work. And your job is to adjust to the reality that it can't be adjacent to residences. It's not fair to do that. That they have to live with your business is not fair.
Yeah, I see.
Okay. All right.
So the next is we looked into what we just removed the tire rack completely. So that's why we didn't discuss it yet.
Okay, so, and what's the plan there? Are we gonna end up with stacks of tires in the end because there's no place, because we didn't plan for a tire rack? I mean, what's the actual operational plan?
They keep tires in the building. I don't know if Mustafa or Eric, you want to add anything, but they keep them within the building and they use them in the building.
And if you didn't listen to the prior hearing, just as a reminder, our commissioners do drive-bys all the time. So they, plus we have a compliance officer who does drive-bys. So you can't tell us that you're doing it and not do it. Okay.
And then lastly, I think is just the lighting. Let me make sure. Garbage, tires. Okay. Yes, lastly is the lighting. We would love to have our lighting consultant on another hearing, any gas station really come to discuss what they've been working on. And because as you discussed in a prior hearing, you're working on that administrative order and the issues that they've come up with or that they've struggled with. Because yeah, we are also working on a lot of lighting plans for BP and other gas stations.
Okay, well, we have one applicant who is trying out, sort of experimenting with our idea. We don't know yet whether it's going to work. You've heard Mr. Catrona talking about it. We don't know. Mr. Stettin, please. Okay, go ahead. Sorry, we could hear you and you need to mute. Okay, so we have one applicant who's trying to figure out whether his solution will work. And we'll let you know because
we have been working on lighting plans for about 6 months now with a lighting consultant on numerous plans, but we don't want to come to you obviously until we have it all figured out, but we would love to have a discussion with whenever that's possible.
I thought they are saying that they already have a consultant in place and he's
We've been working on them and we haven't responded to some notices of comments, or for this case is an example of we're still working on the lighting plan and we would love to have our consultant come to discuss with you what they've done and issues they've run into.
Okay, so all right, so that's
rather than hold you up. Yeah.
And you can contact the project manager or Carlo to discuss whatever issues they're encountering in general. But the lighting consultants know how to do these reviews. The issue that we're encountering with some cases is that the costs are unreasonable for the applicants. So we were trying to figure out a solution that was less costly. And that's what one of our applicants is currently working on right now to figure out an alternative solution. Okay.
Understood. And that's one of the issues that is coming up with our cases as well, but it's multifaceted and that's why we would love to have a discussion.
Okay. So call Carlo and discuss it.
Okay. We just want to make sure it's what you're actually looking for. So that's why I'm bringing it up.
Okay. Yeah, and I see Vice Chair Shonda's hand is up.
I'm sorry, that was from a previous one. My bad.
Okay. And also I see Mr. What's his last name? Stewart's hand up, I think. Is your hand up to speak or? No? Okay. All right. Okay, please go on. Ms. Fullader.
I don't think any other issues.
Okay.
Came up.
Okay, so then let's open it up to the public. Sorry, the case that we are discussing is 803-61BZ. The address is 1416 Highland Boulevard, Staten Island.
The call-in number is 646-558-8656. Zoom webinar ID number is 941-8721-3822. And the passcode is 614319 should you need it. If you are calling in, you can press *9 to raise your hand and *6 to unmute to speak. If you are in the Zoom room already, please raise your Zoom hand to speak.
Okay, I still see Mr. Stewart's hand up. That's why I'm asking. So I don't know if he wants to speak. I'm lowering his hand because he hasn't spoken. Okay. All right. How much time do you need to prepare this?
That now he might need to speak. Andy, how long do you, I guess we have to have a conversation with the team again. So a few weeks, I would say more than 2 weeks this time, but not like a month, I guess.
Okay, so
to have a discussion. Because the thing is too, we would like to have plans approved before we start,
Understood.
you know, doing the work.
Okay, 4 weeks to submit then? Is that right? 4 weeks?
Yeah, I think so, because we have to have a conversation with everyone again. So it's the conversation I think would need a little bit more time.
Okay. All right then. Thank you. I think that's it. Thank you.
Okay, next case. Can I call the next case?
Yeah.
Okay. Item number 16, 52871 BZ, 13340 150th Street, Queens.
Okay.
Elise.
Elise again. Andy and Eric should be here again.
You're not. Let's see.
Same people, okay. Let's just do it.
I see both of
Mr.
them.
Fallon, okay. Raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board and to respond honestly to board member questions?
I do.
Yeah, I do.
Elise Fullader from Eric Palatnik PC. I maybe would like to share the plans again, if that is okay with you, just for discussion purposes. Okay, share. Yeah, okay, so first we heard your comments about the rear. The cars have been removed and we can plant trees there. The previously approved plans had just said vacant on it. So we were under the impression you wanted us to.
No, it said vacant and then it showed spruce planted haphazardly deeply along the back.
Was it?
No, so that's not it. There's another.
Yeah, so we thought you were asking for plants like along the edge, like here. So we can plant trees though. We're not arguing that. That's what we thought you were.
No, it's showing plants inside the property line of the vacant lot.
Yeah, understood.
So it's not grass, right?
Yeah, but we thought you wanted it like along this, but we'll do it more everywhere.
Right, okay.
It's just, yeah, okay. And then fencing.
No, but to be clear, specifically, the densest part should be along the fence line on the other side of the fence and along the street line on the other side of the fence, other side as in that vacant lot, so that you're not getting anyone to drive in. And then, yes, a sort of general planting to create a landscaped area inside, so to discourage storage of junk.
So we'll add a dense area right here,
Yes.
and then trees within. That's what.
Also along 150th Street. Right?
Street.
150th Street
Here?
along frontage, yes.
Okay.
Because we don't want cars driving in over an illegal curb cut into a parking lot, right?
Okay. And then the next question is with fencing. Andy, would you like to speak? Where is it good? I thought I saw, I was gonna look. We are proposing decorative fencing, but I can't find it right now.
Yeah, it says aluminum picket, but then it doesn't along separating these two pieces of property. And then my comment is that it should be aluminum picket along 150th Street because it's a residential neighborhood as opposed to chain link. And I guess my question for the owner, but the owner's not here, right? It's just the manager, right?
Yeah, for this one, yeah, we have the manager.
So my question do you represent the owner?
I mean, he represents British Petroleum.
Who's the owner of the property is what I want to know. Is the owner of the property?
It's a really intense structure. So they're like, let's see, so let's like, they're in charge of the property. As we represent BP, who's in charge of the property. So
I don't understand why BP would own that vacant lot that they're not allowed to use for anything to do with commercial use.
Well, this is all, yeah, I don't know why historically that was like that, but this is all one lot.
I understand that, but you can subdivide a lot so that the chances of ever getting a variance to extend a commercial use under over to that vacant area is slim to none. So why would you continue to hold on to it, BP? Why wouldn't the owner take it back and develop it with a complying use?
And that's something we've brought up on calls with British Petroleum, but we'll bring it up again.
Yeah, because part of the issue is this is an expensive venture that we're directing you to do, which is essentially turn that area into a park because it's being abused right now. So if BP gave up control of it and the owner turned it into a usable site, which it's a very large site, it could be used to build houses on, etc., or community facility. I don't understand this idea of holding on to this indefinitely.
I don't think that is necessarily the plan. It's a corporation. So you have to figure it out.
Oh, corporations also know about wasted money.
Understood. And I just want to let Ted know that there is parking on another site here, but that's not the site that's under this application over here. So when he goes out to do compliance, go to the rear of the site.
Yeah, oh, that's true. But if you could,
Noted. Sorry.
if you could put that's okay, Ted, thank you. If you could put your arrow, let's see, keep going a little to the left, more left, and down to the corner right there where the fence is. This is the area where I said you also have to have planting there because it's the way that you can see in the aerial views is there are cars parked right up against there and it sort of looks like they can squeak through and get into this area that shouldn't be used for parking. Okay.
I guess the intention is once we have that nice decorative fencing, cars won't be able to move through.
Right. Make sure the decorative fence, so you're not showing the fencing turning the corner, and I don't want to see a gate there on that corner.
Yeah.
Not just that corner, the one that's perpendicular to it, right? I need.
Yeah, here.
Not
Okay.
the other way, vertical. They go that way.
This way, yeah. That decorative fencing. Andy, do you want to add anything about the fencing?
Yeah, okay. Continue.
He did when we were on a call before. So Andy? Can you hear? Okay, I don't know what happened to him, so.
There he is. Go ahead, Mr. Stewart. Did you want to say something? He's unmuted, but I don't know.
Okay, well, I guess I'll move on to the next issue until.
No. All right, go ahead.
Hello? I'm sorry.
Andy.
I thought I was in a phone that wasn't connected well.
Do you want to add about fencing is what I asked.
Yeah, I apologize for that. So real quick, the decorative fence, like we said, will be along the rear. We'll show it along the 150th Street side as well as requested, and it does cut down the west lot line to that existing retaining wall to preclude access to the side lot, to the lot that's on the west as well.
Oh, okay.
I think that's what you're asking about. And then we'll show the landscaping. I apologize if I can just go quick back to the landscaping in that rear lot. Would you be looking at just landscaping along the borders? The only reason I ask is because I know it's kind of, its intent is to prevent parking in the lot and stuff like that. But with all the fences up, obviously you wouldn't be able to get any cars on the lot. So I'm just trying to think of current expense to BP and to the operator of installing intense landscaping if the fences that are required are going to prevent vehicular access to that lot as well.
So for me, and other commissioners feel free to jump in here. This has been an unsightly vacant lot or an illegal vacant lot for I don't know how long, right? And so the issue is both, it's in a residential neighborhood. It's supposed to have been developed for residential or community facility use, and it continues to be either an eyesore or illegal.
Understood.
So the reason for planting it like that is to make it look like it's part of a residential neighborhood, not an abandoned vacant lot. So the idea of both the fence and the landscaping is so it looks like a park. I mean, you can offer it up as a community garden. You can come up with other solutions, but at the moment, we don't have any other solution other than you need to landscape it and fence it so it doesn't continue to be used either as a dump or as a parking.
Understood. I'm just trying to get a full picture. We were brought on by BP recently to take over for the prior engineer, so I'm just making sure that I have all the T's crossed and I's dotted on this. So thank you.
So you could, I don't know if you were able to hear a little brief
I was.
with Ms. Folidar. It'd be great if you could discuss with your client why in the world they're retaining control over that. Why don't they
So real quick, the relationship is that BP, they're the lessor of the lot, so they have control over the station, but they don't own the property outright. They're not the mortgagee of the entire property. That's actually, I believe, this is a site that's owned by PMG. So they'd have to go back and speak with them if they're going to subdivide the lot and develop that rear lot as something else. That would be something they'd have to discuss with the actual property owner. They're the lessor and they control the gas station, but any kind of subdivision they'd have to go back to the property owner. But that's something we can definitely discuss with them.
But PMG is another commercial owner, right?
They're the main owner of the property, and BP leases this station. There's a number of other stations throughout the city that they lease and have control over operation of the gas business and the dealer who operates the station physically at the site.
So a discussion should be had with the ground lessor because this is going to be this ongoing nuisance at great expense to the lessee, to BP.
Understood.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And Andy, so you're good on where the decorative fence goes?
Yes. Yeah, I have the fence, and we'll propose additional landscaping in the rear as well. So.
Okay, no problem. Thank you. And then with signage, I have Andy here who can elaborate, but we do have permits for signage that we currently was found this question. Go on. Sorry.
Yeah, so as shown on the plans, when we went and verified everything online, I went back and checked before the hearing today as well. All the signs have permits from Department of Buildings, both non-illuminated and illuminated signage, and they've all been signed off through Department of Buildings, so we realized that the illumination is a bit over what's allowed per frontage, but they're all permitted. I think we've had this discussion with the board in the past, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe the board, as long as they have permits through Department of Buildings, valid permits, and then the board has accepted that in the past for other sites.
It's not my recollection. Anybody want to, Commissioner Holly Brown or Carlo or Tony want to comment on that? I don't really.
Perhaps the board said they would not speak on the issue of the signage exceeding the required maximums. But I don't recall the board just saying it's okay since you have permits that say that they're legal through DOB, because we don't vary the signage.
Right.
Right.
That's what DOB is.
So we could add something to that effect, that the board is not granted a signage waiver, signage variance.
I do think that is what we've done in the past, exactly what she said.
Okay. And we can provide copies of those permits for your records as well, if you'd like.
Please, yes.
Okay.
I'm looking at my notes. And then the air vac, we will look into changing the location, but the location that Commissioner Chanda said, we actually already have the air and vac in that area, a different one in that area already. So we can look into removing the other one or replacing it somewhere else.
Perhaps Al will review this. This is Andy again. We'll review this with BP. Perhaps we can move that along the proposed landscape or area along the western property line. I know they've removed the car wash stations from that area, so it should be available area there possibly. So we can look at that.
Can we go back to the signs for a second? This
Yes.
is an R3A. It's not a C1 overlay district or C2 overlay. So the R3A, the only signage that the board approves is C1 district regulations. So how did it get to be that DOB issues a permit when it's not even allowed to have any commercial signs absent BSA approval?
We have not, our company, High Point Engineering, was not involved with the permitting of signage in the past at this site. We've only looked up what the current permit status was. I can't speak to how DOB permitted the signs or what the applications entailed. I can just tell you what's existing right now, what has permits, which are all the signs as listed. Obviously, it's per the analysis, they go, like, as you stated, with a C1 district, the lowest commercial district, when it's a purely residential. So that's kind of how we've broken it down here. But like I said, as to how the permits were obtained, I can't speak to that matter.
No, this part I understand, but I'm talking about, this is actually a question to the board.
I apologize.
No, that's okay. It's one thing when we have like we have another case where there's a commercial overlay district where you're allowed to have signs that are of a certain dimension, right? So if DOB is approving it beyond that, that's sort of DOB's thing. But the BSA, unless there wasn't an actual approval on the drawings that indicated signs that were larger, it just sounds like, yeah, doesn't sound like it's complying with the BSA grant. So Ms. Fullader, you need to research the signage size history.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay.
On this site, or are you saying BSA signage?
No, on this site.
Okay.
This site has a history of approval and drawings that said the signs are X big.
Okay.
Right, and normally, in fact, this would be abnormal, right? Normally, it's a C1 district regulation that determines the size and illumination of the signs. So how did this one not comply with the C1?
Mm-hmm. I will research what they previously had. I can't necessarily tell you how it happened at DOB, but I will let you know what it previously had, and we can talk with BP about it.
The BSA approvals.
Yeah,
right?
I have the previously approved with signage on it, so yeah.
Because often what happens is, yeah, well, actually, here's what happens in this case. Okay, go ahead.
I think that was all the issues, unless I'm missing anything.
Okay, so then let's go to the public.
Okay, the application we're discussing is 52871BZ. The address is 13340 150th Street, Queens. The call-in number is 646-558-8656. The Zoom webinar ID number is 941-8721-3822. Passcode is 614319. And should you call in, you can press *9 to raise your hand to speak and *6 to unmute yourself. If you are in the Zoom room already, please raise your Zoom hand.
Okay, how much time to?
Well, again, we want probably an approved drawing set before we go out and make the expensive repairs. So I think less time with this site, right, Andy? Or Andy, how much time do you?
Well, we have to speak with BP about everything and get there okay. I think the big item here is is the subdivision of the back lot. If they choose to subdivide, that's going to take some time to speak with PMG and get our ducks in a row on that.
I don't think that will get an answer within the time you can do that. Like, that'll take more than a month, but I don't want to hold this application up.
I would say, if we got like 4 weeks, I think, just to make sure, because they're probably going to have to talk about things internally and give us an approval on some of these items. I mean, I know that these are required, but they still have to go through their process. So.
No problem. So a month.
Yeah, the subdivision of the property is that's a long-term solution, so you don't keep getting hit by the board. This subject gets raised at every extension and all of that. So, that's why it's a long-term solution, not an immediate solution.
Right. Understood. Agreed.
All right. Great. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Okay. Thank you.
Move on. Item number 17, 31590BZ, 8206 Astoria Boulevard, Queens.
Is Hiram Rothkrug? Or of Rothkrug?
Mr. Furlano, you're still part of this?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, you're part of this application also? 31590BZ?
I don't know. Lisa, are you there?
No, this is
I
not.
don't think you're part of this application.
This
Okay.
This is
Then I'll drop
8206 Astoria Boulevard?
No, I'm not part of it. I'll drop
Okay,
off.
so please drop off. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think the one person called in, maybe this is Mr.
That's
Roth.
Hiram.
Good morning. Good afternoon. It's Hiram Rothkrug.
Hi. You're by yourself, Hiram?
I am, yes.
Okay. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board and to respond honestly to board member questions?
Yes.
Okay. Please proceed.
So we heard the review session. Very, very pleased that the board was satisfied with our submission. And we've already indicated to the site operator that he should go out and paint the fence to the trash enclosure. Otherwise, we have nothing further to add.
Okay. So I think I had one question. What was my question? I said, oh, the trash pickup frequency.
Yes, we've been out there several times and we didn't notice that. We did notice that on a Google Street View from 2019,
Yes.
that there was trash in the dumpster that hadn't been picked up. We don't know the reason for that, but we'll indicate in a letter to the board about the frequency of the trash pickup, because certainly the station itself is not a large generator of garbage.
Okay. Okay, great. All right. So then let's open this. Yeah, go ahead.
And we're happy to submit a photo of the new paint on the trash enclosure. I'm sure we'll be able to get that done prior to the decision date.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, let's go to the public and then we'll find out how much time you need, okay?
Okay, the item we are discussing is 315 90BZ 8206 Astoria Boulevard, Queens. The call-in number is 646-558-8656. Zoom webinar ID number is 941-8721-3822. Passcode is 614319. And if you call in, you can press *9 to raise your hand and *6 to unmute. If you are in the Zoom room already, please raise your Zoom hand to speak.
Thank you, Tony. All right then, so time to paint the trash enclosure and get us the letter that just tells us about pickup frequency.
Just a couple of weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Okay, I'm writing 3 because you offered.
Okay.
All right then.
You want to close?
Yeah, but I just want to give a little bit of time because we know about the time delay. But other than that, I would want to close. And otherwise, we don't have anything open. Okay. All right then. So for seeker, we have a protocol affidavit and that shows us the status on remediation. So otherwise, we're good. All right then. So I'd like to make a motion to close.
Chair Perlmutter?
Aye.
Vice Chair Chanda?
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown?
Aye.
Commissioner Sheta?
Aye.
Commissioner Shabeta?
Aye.
Okay, his application is closed. Okay. For the morning thing, do you still want to wait on that till we got secret off, DOT sign off, right?
Give them as much.
Till, okay.
Hopefully they can get it. If they get it done today, then they'll let us know and then we can vote on it. Otherwise, vote on it tomorrow. Okay.
Okay, so this then concludes the public hearing for April 26, 2020, the 10 a.m. session. When do you wish to resume, Madam Chair? It is 1:13 right now.
Is everyone okay with only 45 minutes? Should we come back at 2 and then take another 15? We're okay with coming back at 2? Okay.
Okay, so we will resume at 2 p.m.
Yes. Okay, good.
Okay.
Everyone.